10 seconds. Make sure you put that in the minutes.
3, 2.
Can I get a motion for the minutes of May 2nd and warrants 23 and 23P?
I will move we accept the minutes of May 2nd and warrants 23 and 23P.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Wyndham County Sheriff's Department.
You're fast, I was like number 4 on the list.
We're good.
We're on the right side of the table now.
You ain't see nothing,
Don't
yeah.
mess it up.
Now I gotta move up to the table.
Yeah, please.
Step
So
up
you're
to the
getting
table.
my best side, so. I promise I'll try not to swear.
Lewis moves on, here's a long pause, so.
Well, it's that time of year again where I'm coming to the town of Dummerston to ask for your money. Any questions?
How much?
Where do you want to be in January?
Not sitting on this side of the table. No, actually, I hope in 10 years I'm right back here, quite frankly. It is that time of year. I go around, I meet with the towns. You say that your contract's coming up for renewal in July. To let you know what our current rates are, update the department to see what you're looking for changes in the contract, if any, and what money you'd like to contract for. So our rate this year is going to be the same as last year, $43 an hour. One of the things that we're proposing to towns, and many towns are considering or have already agreed to, is to go from an hourly based billing to a monthly based billing. And the other thing that we add to that is some flexibility. I understand, when I first took over, it made a lot of sense for me to do hourly billing. There was a lot of concern about what are we actually getting from services from the Sheriff's Department, and I think that was a valid concern. Are they actually here? Can they show what they've been doing? And that's why we created our STARS program, which I know Dummerston actually uses it relatively frequently. Goes in, hey, what has the Sheriff's Department done just in the last couple of days? What we're finding, though, is as we've redeveloped the Sheriff's Departments, we're getting more and more calls for quality of life incidents. Someone smashed my mailbox, it's the minor trespass issues. People just need assistance, but the contracts don't support that. The contracts, for the most part, that are hourly based are for traffic enforcement. So what we're advocating is to change it to a monthly billing. You'd get the same bill every month. It wouldn't change. The reports online wouldn't change. You'd still find out how many tickets we wrote. But what we would do is take approximately 20% of the time and set it aside to use for criminal complaints. So let's say that your contract equates to about 20 hours a month. We would set aside 4 hours to handle very minor calls. We're not going to become your 911 call takers. We're not going to handle, the assault and robbery type things, because those are time intensive and we just don't have the resources. And I wouldn't ask the town of Dummerston to fund those kind of responses. But the 10-minute, we're in the area, we can take the smashed mailbox complaint, someone knows that we're right there, and we'll follow up, is beneficial. It shows that the town's taking care of its own. So let's say we set aside those 4 hours for the month of July, but we only end up with maybe 2 hours of calls. We then roll that 2 hours over to the next month. We either use it for more traffic enforcement, or we can use it for some additional additional calls. So let's say in August you get 6 hours of criminal complaints, we take care of it. So you're not going to lose the time. It's like if we don't use it in July, it's not that you lose it. We just roll it over. So it gives us some flexibility. We provide a little more service to the town. You're not losing out on the traffic enforcement. What you're going to find is if the deputy goes out to maybe to a residence he doesn't normally get to on a road he doesn't normally patrol, now they're being seen in areas where they're not normally seen. That's how we see the benefit, and we'd like to try it this year in Dummerston. So that's my proposal for this year. If you want to stay with the hourly base, we certainly can do that, or add or take away whatever you'd like. So your thoughts on that sort of approach to providing a little more service without really losing what you have right now.
And increased flexibility.
Correct.
An advantage.
Right.
So you use the example of 4 hours. Would that be a realistic amount of time that you would want to devote to these other issues?
I think it's probably a little on the low side, but let's see how it goes. this first year. If, halfway through the year, I'm noticing that, we're averaging 6 hours a month, I would come back to you and say, can we take a little bit off the traffic enforcement side and see if we're covering it? Or, we'll have to just tell people, we're over the hours for the month. It's hard for us to tell. Sometimes we have a pretty good idea. Dummerston varies a little bit. We're getting some calls directly to our office that show that there is a need for it, or at least the community thinks that we're a viable agency for them to call. But I don't know if those calls are going to go up once people know that we're providing a little more service than we're providing now. So the 4 hours, the 20% is a guesstimate.
Do we get those kind of calls here, Gloria, at the town office? Guys, what else would like be smash mailboxes? What else would you put in that category?
Minor disputes with neighbors.
Well,
No, it's usually the trespasses, the malicious, or the vandalisms, juvenile complaints. We already have a contract with the school for truancy, so truancies wouldn't come off or be, billed towards your contract.
do you follow, like, say, I don't know, we'll use trespass, I don't know if that's a good example, but if you investigate and you find there's been a crime committed, I mean, do you follow through and prosecute?
Yep, we would follow through.
Mhm.
If we end up with a suspect, we would pursue it all the way through to charges. If it goes to court, we don't bill you for the court time. It's just one of the things that we see as part of what we need to provide anyway, so you wouldn't get billed for that.
Mhm.
And most of the time, I mean, for the deputies, officers, troopers don't need to go to court to testify. The cases are, usually those minor cases either go to diversion or they're pled out prior to a jury trial. So that's how we see it. It's just another option for your citizens, where we might already be in the area, where a trooper may be on a call somewhere else. The state police, like everyone else, have limited resources also, and they are handling the bigger calls.
Mhm.
And we'd like to be able to provide a little more service than we're providing now.
So when you, if you get a call, not right now, from Dummerston about one of these issues, do you just refer them to the troopers?
That's what we're doing right now, unless if we had someone like immediately in the area, and then we try to handle, if it's something we can handle in just a few minutes, but if we think it's something that's gonna turn into a case where we have to, write it up and it's gonna take an hour and a half, we do refer it to the state police, because your contract, I have felt you've made it very clear to me that your focus is on the traffic enforcement.
I think a lot of it is that too. I mean, that's what we budget for. And, I mean, we hear more complaints about people wanting more traffic than we do hearing about vandalism and stuff like that. People want the sheriffs out there running their radar, slowing the vehicles down. It's like, and I think that's what I've seen most people.
Yeah, that's why I asked if we get calls here, because like I say, we get a lot of traffic complaints, a lot, and that's, why we're.
Which we've been
Focus on.
addressing, and then again, if we're here answering those other calls, again, it's that presence that you're looking for.
I like the idea that you end up being out in different areas of the community that you wouldn't normally be. I think that's always a good thing to see. Sheriff's car where you don't anticipate one being.
Hello.
Yeah.
Maybe you like to see it there. Not all of us do.
As I say, no one likes seeing the police. Everybody loves the big red truck. The big red truck shows up at your house. You want them there. I show up. You don't want me there. I'm there to bring somebody some bad news.
Yeah.
Or you've already had a really bad day. So, maybe I should just paint my cars red and write,
Good guy.
Windham County Fire Department on the side.
Ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you budgeted for this past year $9,600, which equates to about $800 a month. So it comes out about 17 hours a month under our current rate. I didn't know if there was any discussion.
budgeted for next fiscal year as well.
Same,
Yeah.
same amount.
Same amount,
It was, yeah. This budget year was really tough, and we
It's same for most towns.
right to the bone, and, I don't know if we're gonna be able to sustain it, honestly, but, this year we did. Yeah, that 17 hours, that's what concerns me, only because, like, virtually the only complaints we hear is traffic complaints, and with only 17 hours, it seems like just, one or two of these incidents could use up a big chunk of our traffic enforcement in a hurry. I understand, I mean, it's a good thing to do. I mean, I think that it's probably the right thing to do. Whether we can afford to do it right now, is the question.
Okay.
Is this something we have to decide tonight?
No, I don't think we have to decide it tonight.
No,
The contract's not due until July, right?
July 1st. What I can do is send over a contract which is just like this year's, and if you decide to make those kind of adjustments, just let me know and we can amend next year's contract.
Now, do you have a contract already written up for other towns? The
I
way
do.
you want it? Do you want to send 2 over?
I certainly can do
Why
that.
don't you do that? Send us
Both versions.
both versions so we can maybe discuss it some more at another meeting and look at it and see what it looks like.
Certainly can do that. An update on our department. I'm down right now 4 full-time positions. I have 2 people that are at the full-time school. They'll graduate on the 25th. So there's 2. I had a person who resigned just before she deployed, so when she returns from overseas, she's going to another department. And Corporal Mark Anderson is currently on deployment. So that's made it very tough since about Christmas to meet all our obligations, but we've been able to do that to include some support to FEMA and some support to Vermont Yankee/Energy, and it's made it tough. We've also been down part-timers. I've had a hard time in the last year or so being able to hire and replace part-timers, and I don't know why. That seems to have just changed. I put 3 through the part-time school in March. They're still going through their certification process. I think the first one will be certified probably around the end of June, first part of July. She'll have finished all her training. The other 2 probably around August. I just interviewed 5 for part-time positions, and we'll be sending all 5 to the next school that starts June 4th. So we are starting to build back up, but for some reason, my last hiring process, I had 6 slots at the academy. I could send people to training, and I was only able to fill 3 of those positions because we had so few applicants. I even cheated a little bit. I sent my own daughter, so which she's been pushing for a while to become a deputy. When she first asked, I said, no, I want, 1, continue to work on your degree, which she did. But I also told her she needed to work in some place as, at a store, customer service-based work. So she understands what it's like to work with different people, and she did that. So she did everything I asked her to do, and so I did hire her. So if you see a deputy walking around whose name looks an awful lot like mine.
Keith?
Yeah. She is in fact my daughter. She tends to be more cynical, more sarcastic than I am, so be careful. So we are changing and growing. We've added, since I've been the sheriff, we've purchased nearly $500,000 worth of just cruisers. And as you know, none of that money comes from county. There is no county-based budget. It comes from the support we get from towns such as yourself and the other contracts that we do. So that wasn't easy, but it needed to be done. The equipment when I first took over was tired, and so we've done that. I recently purchased a canine, a dog. She's about 15 months old. She will start training in July with one of my deputies as the handler. So we will have a resource that currently isn't available in this part of the county. There is a VSP canine out of Rockingham, but we felt it important to have one that we had some control over and made available to all the towns within Windham County. The dog will not only be for just patrol work, deputy protection, will also be certified in tracking and drugs. So it gives us a lot of options that we currently don't have. We're trying to expand what the deputies training. We've gotten away from the standard training that we do all the time. We're trying to look at train deputies to do more things. You know, I had someone I sent to the commercial vehicle school, he left, went to Brattleboro, and then went to DMV to weigh trucks. I mean, so I trained him, he left, and then he went to really where he wanted to be. So that's something, again, that we're looking at doing. That's something that towns have asked for, is for us to have the ability to do commercial vehicle enforcement. But it takes a specially trained person to do that. That's where we are right now. Financially, we're healthy. All the bills are paid, and creditors have stopped calling. So it's a good sign. You laugh, but I mean, that's what I had when I took over.
Well, yeah, you've done a great job with it there.
And I will say I'm very proud of my organization and the folks that are there. You know, some are new. I mean, I just hired them. Some have been there since I started. And it's not. I mean, you're going to have people come and go, but overall, the department has been pretty stable since I've been there.
Just how many hours are the part-time positions generally?
They average about 30 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, you know, it could be more, sometimes it's less. In the summertime, it tends to go up because we have a lot of the construction details. And they may work as many as 40 a week.
Mm-hmm.
During, you know, post-Irene, we were doing a lot of work for FEMA, and at the same time, we picked up a detail for Vermont Yankee. I had some part-timers that their checks were bigger than some of the full-timers, just because they were available to work.
I'm surprised that you can't fill these positions. Economy such as it is.
And that, you know, that's the interesting part. I mean, some of the applicants I get are from out of state, and I don't know why I can't get applicants from within Windham County to apply.
So everybody's got jobs.
Yeah.
This is a tough area to hire anybody. A lot of people are looking for help.
Do you have anyone, any officers that are specifically Dummerston, or, you know, their route is in Dummerston?
Not right now. When the two guys come out of the academy, one's going to be assigned to the towns in Athens area, and the other's going to be assigned to the Westminster, and then down to Dummerston. We have Melissa, who's assigned full-time to Putney, but that's under a grant. The town has agreed to fund the 4th retention year, and they've actually paid into that. What we want to do is get to the point where we do have deputies assigned to particular towns or towns. Like one of my deputies just moved to Guilford, so Guilford sort of has become the town that he patrols. He's learning that people will come and bother him on his days off, and he has to learn how to deal with that. But we do like the idea of having a deputy in a particular town or towns, because then they start to know the people and the issues, and they tend to solve things before they even become a problem.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much. You got anything else for us?
Just a thank you for your continued support of the Sheriff's Department. Way back when I first took over, some of the towns just walked away, and it took a while for them to come back, but Dummerston has always been supportive of the Sheriff's Department, and I appreciate your continued support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Again, you can stay on that side of the table. I'll stay on this side.
Thank you.
If you need anything, give me a call.
Great, thank you. Rock River, Leonard, you want to come on up?
Yeah.
Take the hot seat?
Do you have a copy of this?
Yes, we do.
I'm sorry it's so long, but my name is Leonard Dragonsalis. I live in Newton, and I have a studio on Beaver Pond Road. And so I drive daily, to Brattleboro and back, or to the studio and back. And so I'm very well aware of that stretch of road between, I was just north of the bridge that goes over the 2 rivers. Western. And I observed the new signs, and it surprised me, and being retired and a designer, I just kind of kept thinking about this, and certain aspects of it bothered me. So I called the state. I called here first, and I got correspondence that I guess you had with the state asking them to do something about the sign. And I'm not complaining that you guys did that. I mean, totally you did, and I think something had to be done in that area, but I think what's happened is that they've created other problems. Should I read through this?
No, we.
And I videotaped the road, both, in 2 directions, in case you wanted a visual of that. we could look at it, but,
I took a drive over there.
Yes, no, I took a drive, took a look.
and, so I don't know what I'm asking you for, except when I spoke to one of the ladies at the state, she's an engineer, the name was given to me by this office, and I spoke with her and outlined my, certain my problems or objections or whatever, worries. And she kept saying that there's, like the idea of the receptacles for garbage, the state has nothing to do with that. And I know in the past that neighbors complain to each other. I've overheard people talk about the fact that there's no way that anybody can really discard of their junk. And so what happens is that the riverbed gets full of literally crap and garbage. And I guess we've cost Dummerston and or Newfane money to do that, or somehow the citizens would have to get together and chip in and buy receptacles for garbage and then take care of that. I don't know how that would happen. I'm not here to pose too many solutions to the problems. I'm just kind of really my views. The biggest problem I see, though, is where there's a discrepancy in speed limit for about 10 seconds, where you're driving south. First it says 35 miles per hour in the summer. And you read my argument here that who knows when the summer is. I called the state and she wasn't sure when the summer was. And what if it's raining and there's nobody there? And if I live here and it's raining and it's the summer, I'm going to drive 50 miles an hour. I assume. I'm not sure if I have to drive 35. And I don't know if the guy behind me, who usually wants to pass me anyway, because I'm only going 50. If I slow down, I'm concerned what's going to happen when that person behind me wants to pass me. I don't know what the police view is going to be when I'm driving through that area, because it's either 50 or 35, I don't know. And then there's a stretch about a tenth of a mile where if you're going south it says 50 miles per hour, if you're going north that area says 35 miles per hour. Which could lead to a lot of trouble, because if somebody's coming north and they're going 35 and somebody behind them wants to go 50 and they try to pass, they're going to be approaching somebody coming 50. In an area that is now a passing zone, both ways or one way or the other, I forget now. If you're coming south, you can pass if you're going south, and then after you get past that certain point where there's no parking anymore, then you can pass either. And I know from personal experience, I've counted more than 100 cars on the west side of the highway and the east side. And now you can only park on the west side of the highway, which means that people are going to have to walk a much greater distance, and they're going to have to cross the road to get to the riverside of the road, if they're going that way. But it's going to be hard for them to walk with all the park cars. So I'm assuming they're going to walk across the street and walk where there's no cars parked. In a passing zone, where one side has no, what do you call that? Shoulder. So if the person wants to pass legally, they're going to have to take a risk. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been the third car on a two-lane road twice in the past year, where somebody's passing me and they're not going to make it, so I move over, and the other guy moves over, and the passing guy goes in the middle. That can't happen at that area because it's going to kill somebody. It's going to hit a car. So I think that the road should be consistently 50 or 35. That there's a flashing light going south. I don't know when it's going to operate. The lady on the phone didn't know when it was going to operate either. We'll operate 24 hours a day. We'll operate in bad weather. We'll operate Labor Day or September 21st or whenever the summer ends. I just think there's too much confusion. And if somebody does get stopped by the police, if there's an argument as to what's right, what's wrong, who's driving at the right speed. Most of that's outlined in here, so I'm just kind of picking out areas that are at the top of my head. But I think the aspect of cleanliness and all, I realize you can't do anything about that unless you decide to install porta potties and install trash. The first thing that bothered me was when I saw the sign that said recreation area. To me, a recreation area, I Googled, just for the heck of it, I Googled recreation area, and it says a recreation is a type of protected area designated in some jurisdictions. In the United States, national recreation areas are administered by several different agencies. They typically do not meet the strict guidelines to become national parks, etc. Brattleboro has a website, and they talk about facilities and places for people to come and recreate. If I'm driving out of New York with my kids in the car, and we've been on the road now 4 hours, and I see recreation area, all right, and a lot of cars parked, I may say, well, let's just take a break. expecting something, but there's nothing there. It's just a neighborhood with a lot of people walking along the road or along the river to go where they want to go. So I think it's misleading to call it a recreation area. The lady at the state said the recreation area means, they said they do that a lot around the state where it gets busy, but I don't think anybody driving around would look at a sign saying recreation area and not think that there's something really there, a swing, or there's no access to the river. I mean, there is, but it's not protected. It's not made safe in any way. People just go and they enjoy themselves. But I'm afraid that it's inviting people to go where there's already too many. I can't say too many because they all have a right to be there. But there are a lot of people that come. I think it's online that people can find swimming holes in Dummerston area and see that. So I think it's just a problem that's going to happen, and I don't want to see it happen because it's going to hurt somebody. And the only thing that the lady, I'll finish in a second, the only thing the lady at the state said that you guys can do is request that the no passing zone become, or that the passing area become no passing. And other than that, I think you can request them to reconsider the signage, speed limits, and that sort of thing. That it change. I didn't even mention the speed limit to her because I didn't realize the difference in speed limits from one way to the other. And I still don't know how, and there's no flashing light coming north. Mm-hmm. All you notice is it says 35 miles per hour at some recreation area.
That was, can I speak to that?
Yeah.
That was very intentional because it's a blind hill coming down. The truckers needed to see it in advance because they can't slow down. That was for the trucks coming down that hill out of Newfane. So to give them, that there's much better visibility going northbound. So they didn't feel the flashing light was necessary.
So the flashing light is not going to indicate when it's 35 miles an hour, is it?
It's just to get people's attention. It's just a way to alert them. That
Well, when I drive down to Brattleboro, what speed am I supposed to go when I hit that bridge? 50 or 35? I don't know at this point. I honestly don't know.
Well,
I think it might be,
I'm going to go 50.
if I'm driving there in February, then I'm probably going to go 50. But when I am driving there and I say, my kid lives up in Wyndham, I'm going to go visit him. And oh yeah, it's the 4th of July, and right, everybody's swimming. I'm going to go 35. So,
Yeah, but I want to go north. I'm from New York, or someplace else, and I'm just. What if it's 8 o'clock in the morning?
You're going to be behind me. You're going to go 35.
Well, I'm impatient. I'm going to pass. I just.
Those New Yorkers, we're going to leave a sign.
It's not just New York. I'm from New York. I shouldn't be saying
For
this.
order sake.
But I understand. So is it 35 miles per hour beginning?
When you start seeing cars on the side of the road.
It is confusing, because I came down through the day, and my first thought was that it was 35 miles an hour when the light was blinking. That was my assumption, not knowing.
yeah, honestly, I don't know what activates the light.
May I say something?
Yeah, I think I was just about to ask.
So we set this up, Dummerston, Newfane.
Excuse me, Tom, do you know Leonard?
Hi,
I'm Leonard.
I'm one of the directors of Rock River Land Trust, which owns the right-of-way on the trail, that 1 mile with the 5 beaches come off that, and Indian Love Coffee. And what department were you talking to in the state of Rock River?
It was
It was Amy Gamble, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, same person. Okay, head of commissioner for traffic. I don't know what you see.
Okay.
So the blinking yellow light from the north will tell us when it's 35. That's easy. So it's 50 until there's a blinking yellow light. The other thing is, how do you know about people coming from the south, from Brattleboro? And again, I don't have a good answer for you about the passing lane, except when you see cars there. I mean, you'll see the sign saying a recreational area. That recreational area sign in the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit is the precedent was set in Quechee Gorge. So we've had a few accidents. We had 2 different days with accidents 3 years ago and then 2 years ago. And the state trooper said it's just gotten too out of hand. Someone's got to take responsibility. No one's taking responsibility. Their suggestion was simply to So they started ticketing cars. I've got one of their little neon glow tickets saying no more parking in the future here. So the preservation we bought the land from the Connecticut Conservation Agency, the Connecticut River Conservation. Who we bought the land from was the Connecticut River.
Watershed Council.
Was it? Okay, thank you. And it was because it went from like 75 cars to, I mean, there's been as many as 200 cars there on a nice Sunday day, actually. And they weren't able to invest the energy to look at all the many problems, sanitation and traffic. So we took it over. We went to the state police. They said, well, there's been a precedent in Quechee where, again, off on the major road, there's no law against it in the state, but it could be quite dangerous. So Quechee has a 3-month seasonal speed limit, blinking yellow lights. Amy Gamble said, if you want this to happen, you've got to convince both Dummerston and Newfane. Newfane is where the river is owned by, the swimming holes are all along in our land, is all in Newfane. Of course, the parking is in Lucky Dummerston. And I mean, I can start addressing all these issues of yours, trying to put your mind at ease.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just from our perspective here, the town's perspective, you came to us, and we've also had a lot of other concerns over the years. Someone's going to get killed there because there's a lot of cars, people just crossing willy-nilly. We didn't get everything we asked for from Amy Gamble. There was going to be marked crosswalks. We had some guardrails that we asked for, so people actually parking behind guardrails. They gave us what they gave us. It's a little confusing. I see that. I think that it's accomplishing exactly what we hoped it would, which was zoned out drivers who were just blasting through start paying attention, because either there's a blinking light or wait, this doesn't make sense. Is it 35 or is it 55? So the confusion that you're describing is actually going to accomplish what we hoped it would, which is to get drivers to be aware as they go through that area.
I have no way to think you should take the signs down. I mean, I think it should be. I slow down in the summer.
And they've also only been up for a very short time. And what I would suggest is, number one, you get involved with the Rock River Trust. It sounds like you've got a lot of concerns that are shared by Thomas people, and that, you know, that's all the letters in your thing. I thought you were on the, when I first read it, I thought you were on, because it sounds like so many other.
Very healthy concerns.
Right, and it's exactly, I mean, you found the right place.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, the action we took, you know, we decided as a board to support these traffic alterations. We wrote the letter, we worked with Amy, and we got what we got. And my personal opinion, I'm speaking to the board here, is we ought to at least give it a summer and see, you know, see how it goes.
That was exactly how I was going to end my little suggestion.
I also didn't point out, both guardrails have been replaced at that bridge lately. Right at the bridge. They've both been damaged the last few months, and they were both replaced, which tells me that's a reckless area. It's a dangerous area as it is, even without the summer. I mean, we all share the same concerns. But the idea of having two, is it possible that the state could have two speed limits in one area? That it says 50 on one side?
Sort of comes out on Route 5 by the school, don't we, where it's 50 one way, 40 the other?
No, I just never thought about that being...
I do wish they ended up with a yellow light on both ends. And when the light's on, the speed limit's 35. It's too bad that couldn't have been the state's.
Right.
I don't know if we can recommend that at this point. Because it is very
We did ask for two. I can't remember. Do you remember what the
Her
reasons
response
were?
was, number one, you're lucky to get one. And number two, then Newfane, the big thing we had to go back after they were going to give us a yellow blinking yellow light was Newfane said there's neighbors on the hill. And they would be upset at nighttime, so could we do a timed blinking yellow light? And it will be. At sunset, it will go off. Okay. It would be, I would love to have a big I'd
is
love,
confusing.
I'd love to have a second yellow light. I mean, I think everyone on our board, everyone and sitting here probably would appreciate that too.
Right, the no
What do you-
passing also sounds like a good idea.
Oh, what?
The no passing.
I think that's the most dangerous one.
But at what time? I mean, what about in February?
No, I mean, I think he means the dotted line should be a solid line.
Because even in February, it's a dangerous intersection with people. I agree too. You know what Amy said, the reason, I think we've done so much. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, it was hard just to get a sign.
I feel bad, I'm not really complaining.
No, you actually are healthy concern. So I think if we get Dummerston and the Land Trust, which it's our mandate for safety, I'll request a second one. There's a good chance we might be able to get it. So are we going to do that?
Well, I mean, I shouldn't take away any of your time now, because I think I've said all
Well, again, I think, on what basis, other than, I mean, if we give it a summer,
I like the, okay.
And see, and, maybe there will be it's a great way to talk about a speeding ticket when you can show that the speed limit anyway.
Yeah,
that's why I'm here.
It would take a lot of confusion out of this if there was a light on both sides. When the light was on, it was 35.
Mhm.
I mean, I went through there today, and it is confusing.
Mhm.
And even knowing what the situation was, I found the signage confusing.
Well, we can ask.
There are places like that all over the state, especially at schools, when the light's flashing,
Yeah.
the speed limit is 20.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's 35.
Does somebody want to make a motion that we write a letter to,
I'll make that motion that we ask for a second light on the northbound side, and when the light's on, the speed limit's 35.
a second on that?
I'll second that.
Discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, guess we're gonna ask for a second light. Thank you.
And we'll do this,
And then the summer we'll figure out
farming will too.
everything else works.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Larry.
I've been to one of these meetings.
Thanks for
It's great fun.
One more thing.
And it would be nice if you also wrote a letter.
Yeah.
We are,
For
no,
the
we're
second
definitely
light,
gonna do
yeah.
this. And I don't know, this should be on file for, I mean, it's a much nicer kiosk we have. It just got vandalized. It was up for 11 months on plexiglass, two-sided plexiglass, indestructible, we were told.
Call
Red
sheriff.
Indian love coffee.
Call sheriff.
That's what I ran out. Yeah.
If it's on the new Fane sign.
But I think it addresses a lot of issues, like the sanitation you wanted
What's your
to.
name?
The sanitation issue, one thing you should know is that issue came up, and we had the Natural Resource Commissioner, Marie Caduto, if you remember her, and one of the select people from New Fane, and the neighbor who owns, the neighbors who own the other side of Indian Love Cough from the Land Trust, the Whites. Everyone knows Chris and Wayne. And so the idea was sanitation issue came up. It looked like, I think Marie said it was like a deal breaker. It would look pretty bad. There were a lot of people there. And so what happened was we started working with SEWA, Southeastern Vermont Watershed Alliance. And it is sponsoring tests. It takes care of water quality tests. And so Chris, a neutral, objective tester from the owner, she's already started it, twice a month during the summer months, do water quality testing, drive it to Greenfield, and Rock River Preservation will pay for it. What's been shown, curiously enough, Rock River is the cleanest of the 30 sources into the West River. Maybe because it's the biggest. And that is even during high use periods. And as the kiosk says, when we go to them, carry in, carry out, I mean, it's some basic things. And there's even things that we took from the ledges from Harriman Reservoir, where the power company actually put up the chapter and section of no lewd and lascivious behavior. So we even got there. We got signs of family beach, clothing, discretion. I mean, we really are trying to make it comfortable. And the bottom line is, what we say we are, what we are registered with the government is we're keeping a natural environment. It's a wilderness area. And
This is news to me, and I'm glad to hear it.
yeah, we really are we're trying to be proactive. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Let's get to that one thing, guys. Anybody want to write that letter?
Well, I wrote the last one. I got her address, so I'll do it. You want to write one and send it to directly to her? I mean, you have a relationship with her now.
Maybe I'd love to sort of peek at what you're saying. I mean, so we can grow with the most voices. Does that make sense? Or not?
Yeah.
I will write a letter, and I will send it to the state transportation agency.
Let's just get right on our, why do we want the sign going north? Just because
The light.
it's just the light, I mean, because it's confusing. It's creating local confusion to people who go through there all the time.
The problem is, my confusion here is what happens when the light's not on, but, it's in early June, and basically we were thinking I don't know if I heard it from her, it's Queechy or what, June 15th to September 15th. I sort of remember.
That's when the lights
No,
time
that's
to come
more
on,
than-
or when they turn it on.
Yeah, but that can't be right.
No, Memorial Day.
Yeah, right.
Probably Memorial Day, Labor Day makes no sense.
Right.
So, all right, well, yeah, I'll write it. And I think I still. Do you have another one of those cards in your pocket, Tom?
Yeah.
I think.
What happens when the light's not on? There's cars there. I mean, but there is that sign that says recreational area.
There's also the green signs, which are good. Those line green signs that indicate that there's pedestrians. I mean, a sensible driver is going to drive sensibly.
Okay.
Especially when there's a sign that says
Yeah.
recreation area, 35 mile an hour speed limit.
No, I think it's good that they're there. Just to me, the biggest problem is going to be passing. The fact that there's lots of pass.
But there's also that at the double, at the passing lines, there's the sign that says.
I know, but the legal issue.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Great town, by the way. It's nothing like my town.
Steady.
Recognition of visitors. Anybody have anything? Okay, moving right along. Covered bridge wind wall update.
There is a small action we need to take tonight, or not take. The bids, went out to bid, and there's been a few companies that come and picked up packets. I think 3 or 4, and Brad expected more, and he was a little worried, and he and Wendy at the state were talking, and thought that the schedule could have something to do with it. And Wendy actually came up with this independently, that it's on a very tight schedule to finish it by August 15th, and that often that will scare away bidders, and it'll also raise the price because guys have to pull crews and maybe schedule in overtime or something if they do get it on a tight schedule. So she recommended that we consider amending our bid documents to extend the final completion till the middle of September, but have it passable for emergency vehicles and school buses by the middle of August, which was our biggest problem, was the school buses. And so Brud is asking for us to discuss that and approve it, and he would make that as an amendment to the bid documents.
Do we have to advertise in the Reformer again at $1,000?
No, what he'll do is he'll contact all of the people who have picked up packets, and he also said that Mike Renaud had not picked one up, and I called Mike right away to see if there was an issue, and maybe he was just too busy. So it was just an oversight, and he was going to go pick it up immediately, and he would definitely like to bid on it. So we have our pre-bid meeting is at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and so he's going to individually call everyone who's picked up packets, and he will also make sure that we discuss that at the pre-bid meeting. So with that, I would make a motion that we amend our bid documents on the wing wall project for final completion of, I think it's September 14th is the actual date, it's a Friday, and to have it passable for emergency vehicles and school buses by our original completion date, which was August, I believe, 15th or whatever that was.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Yes.
Yeah. This just triggered my memory. When I looked at the legal ad, it said that the bids could be submitted by 7 p.m. May 30th, which, and I think at the town office.
That was
and
another
you changed,
mistake.
and you changed
Yeah.
your meeting date. So do you need to just amend your motion to include a later date, or have you already dealt with that?
He's already taken
Okay.
care of that.
Okay.
I discovered that error as well,
Okay.
and he's going to make sure that everybody understands that it was the 31st. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We're good. I'll let Brett know that. Go ahead.
Gravel pit update?
Well, you were all at the neighborhood meeting, so you don't have anything you don't already know. The sound guy is making individual appointments with the neighbors to get permission to go on their property and take measurements, and also to have them show him if they want where their particular outdoor spots are, where they want to make sure that there's no disruption. So that's all on schedule. So nothing other than that.
Okay. Correspondence for information. Anybody have anything there they'd like to discuss?
Oh, this broadband target meeting. I'm going to go to that. It's been 6 years since I took that. We did that townwide survey about internet, and I have no idea what's valid anymore, because this internet is sort of, some people have gotten it. It's kind of like squeaky wheels have gotten it. Other people have. It makes no sense to me anymore. So what they're doing now is collecting actual addresses for people who don't have broadband internet access. I don't have much of a list to give them, so I would just say anybody, anybody in this room who knows people who don't have broadband, who would like to have it, to just send me their address, and I'll make sure that it gets on the list with this outfit. Because I can't guess anymore. It used to be, oh yeah, everybody on Stickney Brook Road, but now some people at the top have it from here and others there. It's like Bunker Road, they have it all the way to Falk Road, but then not past that. My neighbor on the north has DSL, my neighbor on the south has Southern Front Cable, and I got a satellite dish. So it's like, so I've got that address.
So, do you want people who have satellites to be using a satellite service to be included in?
Oh, yes, I think, so. Yeah, those are essentially emergency actions, I think, at this point.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. So good, that would be helpful, thanks, for anybody who knows somebody. So that.
Correspondence for discussion and action. Anybody see the letter from Hugh Warden about the cemetery committee?
Yeah.
Then we'll move down there to that motion.
Yeah.
That's later on. Then we've got a letter from Sam Farwell. It's up here.
Yeah, so the way I understand that his letter was clarifying what he understood us to do. And he seems to me he got it right here, that they were to work on he doesn't specify it here, but we asked them to, before they did anything with the corridor work, to get the uses for all the districts in place. And then, because there's nothing really to do, until we get the uses figured out.
Right.
And they were going to do, and then also to not do this bylaw piecemeal, like we kind of had planned to do it, or do a section and then go to a hearing and do it, but to basically take care of these emergency ones, the special events and the waivers and this other issue, because those are more urgent, and then just work on the zoning bylaw as a piece, and pass it as one piece of work. So that's what he's summed up in the letter, and that was my understanding of it. Is that everyone's understanding of it?
Let's see. Well, I guess so. I think his letter was a little confusing to me, but
Whose letter was confusing? Sam's?
Sam's.
Okay.
But I guess there are no red flags for me there, I think.
Well, I think the one...
I think going to the meeting that he suggests would be the idea.
I'm not, unfortunately, going to be able to go to that meeting. The one thing that he says here, I don't think he got from us, but it kind of makes sense, was that they wouldn't amend the town plan until it kind of comes around again in 2013. To start, yeah. Well, he said the work on it will start in 2013. I don't know that we said don't work on the town plan until it's time to write a new town plan. I think we said do the zoning bylaw first. So I think that was the only one where he may have made an assumption, or I mean, it may end up being that. But
I think that's what he thinks, is that's why he put that in.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking is it's gonna be, because we never told him to.
I didn't
Wait.
think so, because that would be 2015, right? That's when we passed it, yeah.
20, yep, 5 years.
So I think he's asking for a response, to, you know, make sure that he's got it right.
So what do you think he's asking for? I think he was just giving us an outline of what he was.
That's what I thought he was doing, was just giving you
An outline of-
a heads up of what he was thinking
Right,
in the
and then-
next couple of years would.
Right. I think that's what it is. And
Yeah,
I think he
I
wants us
say
to.
if this is not the intention of select board, please carry on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, he just wants us, you know, if we can, to go to that June 5th meeting.
Yeah, that'll be but I
And he's
won't
got
go
one
to
on
the
May
one.
23rd too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I can't make, but, so yeah, I misread that one line, thinking that he wanted clarification on all this, did you, right?
Luke? I read Sam's letter as well as your minutes from the last meeting where you were giving direction to the planning commission. And I understand the reasons for trying to not do too much at one time of mixed things. I guess I would just like to register a general caution that, as we know, the zoning is to implement the town plan, not vice versa, and that especially with regard to the corridor, the way the town plan that has been adopted was left, there is this unfinished business and in the corridor area. So until that is resolved, I think there's always going to be some cloud, if you will, to whatever zoning is in place. And I think that's just a inherent risk in all of the stuff that has been on the table and is yet to be resolved. But it's something to keep in mind that it shouldn't be left that way any longer than need be. I think that while the zoning is out of compliance with the town plan, that there's always a chance of a legal challenge, although it is extremely rare that someone would challenge the zoning. I think that the problem comes more when there is a controversial development and someone after the fact doesn't like the decision and looks for reasons to challenge it at that point. Or for the DRB itself in weighing applications within the corridor area to know what the policy in the town plan, how to apply it. Because the map will say one thing and the policies will say another. So that aggravates things somewhat. So those are, I guess, again, just inherent risks in delaying town plan work. And it's been, what, 2 years now? And we'll go through the whole thing again in a couple of years. And it probably won't be any easier then.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Anybody else have anything on that? Anybody going to be able to make the May 23rd meeting? Steve, will you be able to make it?
Oh, yeah. I will be there.
I'll try to make it. That's going to be a difficult one, but our next meeting, the 5th?
The 5th, yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right,
I can do the 23rd.
moving on to unfinished business, special events ordinances.
I guess we're gonna have to come up with one, because it looks like they're gonna take their special events ordinance to a hearing in the fall, which is basically gonna be saying, go to the select board for a permit, and we need to come up with an ordinance for that.
Is there a working document? That's why I'm here.
Oh.
But primarily as a informational gathering, it sort of recently came to me that this was on the agenda, and I live in the village, and there's some history in the village of there being issues with larger events, and so I'm interested in where you all stand and what's being proposed, and potentially
Well,
adding my input.
There was, I knew if I didn't bring my big bag with everything in it, I would want something. There's a draft copy of what the planning commission sent to us recently. It's been worked on extensively, which we decided not to adopt and to go at it a different way. But it gives you an idea of where we're at. I think that the parameters are more or less where we'd like to end up. But it's more about the implementation of it. We decided that it probably didn't belong in our zoning bylaw. It should be more of a town ordinance about special events. It's not really a land use issue, was the thinking. So somebody's going to come up with a copy of it.
Zeke's got one here, yeah.
Yeah. So can we give Carrie a copy and then you can see where we're at. And it's going to be on our agenda like every 2 weeks until we do something about it. So, you know what would be good is, I guess we have to get intentional about this.
Yeah.
It's so easy to kick these things down the road.
Listen, my life is busy.
So-
I'd be happy for you to kick it down the road for another month.
Oh, I was trying to figure out a way to put you in charge of a committee here. You know?
I'm still trying to figure out why this is such a hot issue.
Well, I don't think it is hot. I think what it is
We've been discussing it for 2.5 years, so.
Well, I think what it is it's like trying to wrap our heads around the enforcement. What we decided was that, as a town ordinance, if somebody violates it, we don't have a lot of muscle because we don't have cops. Whereas a zoning ordinance, if it's violated and the violation continues, the land can be, the violation can be recorded on the land record, and you can hurt people if you really have a scofflaw. So that was our reasoning for having it in the zoning bylaw. But then what we decided was that puts our zoning administrator in the position of making these judgment calls about certain events, when really she should be making land use decisions. Does this conform to zoning or does it not? That's her job. It's the select board's job, because there's nobody else to do it, to decide other ordinance matters. So that's why it's ended up back with us. What we're gonna do is, in the zoning bylaw, it will allow special events as other uses in all areas, with a permit from the select board. And if it meets a certain threshold, and I think those thresholds is what we're using there, whatever they are, 25 cars or 50 cars and 150 people, whatever it is. If you exceed what's allowed in the zoning, then you have to come to the select board for a permit. The way it was, and the way it's written there, is you would have to go to the DRB for a permit, the Development Review Board, which takes a long time, and it costs $80, and it would not be very efficient. So the select board reluctantly agreed to sort of take this on.
So can I ask a few clarifying questions, because I was both listening to you and trying to read at the same time? This is saying that only gatherings of more than 75 vehicles once per year would require special permission. But if you wanted to have a party of 70 cars every weekend, that would be fine.
No,
Okay.
once it repeats, right, once it repeats, it requires a permit.
It's like
How
or.
many makes a repetition?
No, it's 75 cars or a repeating
Occurs,
event.
or occurs more than once per year.
So if somebody is just having a family reunion, that's one
Right.
thing. If they're
Okay.
having volleyball or whatever every weekend, then that's different.
Is this a new threshold, or is this what it has been?
There's never
It's
been.
been up
There's
and
never
down.
been anything.
Right, and this
We've
is,
never had one, right, yeah.
yes, and this is up in the air, it's not
Okay, and,
written in stone yet.
okay. Okay. I mean, that's a huge number of cars for a dirt road or the village.
It's not entirely arbitrarily put in there, but something had to go in there.
Right.
Well,
She said it's not in
there was a
stone.
lot of work that went into this too, and we just didn't pick a number out of the air. I mean, the
So-
planning commission,
Well, the original threshold was much lower,
yeah.
and that came from the bylaw committee, and then it went to the planning commission, and then that's what came
Can you
back.
tell me what the reasoning was to raise it?
Steve could probably speak to that.
just so people having family graduation parties, family get-togethers, wouldn't have to go through a permit process.
Okay. I'm not sure that I have all the pieces in my head. I would advocate that we lower the threshold and make the permitting process much easier. I mean, I think that this is easily abused, what I'm reading right here. And I can only speak to sort of the history of the village, where there's very little place for parking, houses are on top of each other, so any event of any size really interrupts the inherent nature of the village for the duration at which it's running. And I completely understand that there has to be a balance between individual privacy and rights, what you can do with your land and your property and your home, and the needs of the community. But I would advocate that we err on the side of respecting the needs of the community when there is the potential for abuse, and that these be more stringent. And if somebody wants to have a graduation party, make it easy for them to get a permit.
Well, how many parties, I mean, how many events have you had in the village that were up to this amount? I mean,
Historically, since I've lived there, a lot.
Yeah.
Recently, less. I mean, I don't want to bore you with the long history of the Grange building, and but because that building has the potential for large gatherings and for it to be abused, I would advocate more stringent parameters.
Well, it might make sense, and this would be a conversation with the planning commission, because they're going to be setting what these thresholds are that'll trigger the permit. that it not be the same for every district. I mean, what might be good in rural may not be appropriate for the village.
At Scott Farm, 75 cars, there might be plenty of parking, or at my house.
And the village is a identified district on our maps, it might be a simple matter.
But they still should only be able to have one. I mean, it sounds to me like there's a lot more than one going on. So if
There's a
a
variety
second
of
one
things.
happened, it would trigger us.
And that's a little, second one of what? I mean, one of the things that happened, and again, I don't want to be a cranky neighbor. Like, I think Lisa should be able to utilize her space and, do what she needs to do to make money or whatever she wants to do within the confines of respecting the nature of the village and her neighbors. They advertised a circus weekend, which happened once. There was a lot of, probably you know about this, there was a lot of sort of fallout from that. There were a lot of people there for the whole weekend, lots of noise, unbelievable increased traffic flow, people's lawns were parked on. So if it was once a circus weekend, and then once a yoga weekend, and then once some other kind of retreat, is not a repeating event, but it could still happen 5 or 6 times a year?
Not on the same property, number one.
But how do you define whether it's a repeating event? Because
And also there's other criteria, like if there's a charge for it, like certain things like weddings and things like that, where you're by invite, and this doesn't
so are
cover.
those written out somewhere?
I'm sorry?
Are those written? Those are all.
I think those would clearly fall under the needing a permit, they're what you just described.
Right.
Where you have people coming in either for workshops or
Right.
educational.
It wouldn't necessarily have been more than 75 vehicles or 150 people.
No, it's
No,
one
but
or
there's
the
other
other.
criteria.
But- yeah.
If they're charging for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I will read this more carefully.
Yeah, and I would suggest getting in touch with Steve's also on the planning commission, and finding out when they're going to be discussing this and bringing that to them. Because I think it does make sense to have different thresholds, at least in the village.
Right, and there's
and
always been-
maybe the slab hollow or something, where it would be inappropriate.
Right. Getting the fire trucks through is always an issue, because as soon as you park on one side of the road, especially if there's a snowbank there, you're done. You can't get a fire truck through. So even normal gatherings create, having a handful of people over for dinner in the wintertime creates some traffic issues and parking issues in the village. So I like that idea that different communities would require different standards for what infringes on your neighbor and what doesn't.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the planning commission thinks.
So let me get this
We
straight.
have discussed, I
I
think, West Dummerston, is that what we're talking about?
I live in the
And I know
village.
with Sam living there, the chairman of the planning commission lives in the village, and we have discussed the parking issues there a lot while we were reviewing this, I know.
Well, and I apologize for coming late to the table and not really understanding even what was on the table, but it came up in a conversation and somebody said I should come to this meeting to find out what's going on, so.
Well, that's why we keep those on the agenda.
That's why we keep on kicking it down the road.
So-
Many people.
Can I just ask, I should talk to the planning commission?
You
and
know
when do-
Sam Farwell?
I do, he lives right down the
Well,
street.
he's the chair,
And
so.
when do they
Everyone will
meet?
probably park if you go to drive.
First Tuesday of the month.
See, I can never ever come
They're
on a
also
Tuesday.
meeting next Wednesday here in the community center.
Right, yeah.
That might be too long of a drive though for you.
I could leave the car.
And actually,
Is that a special agenda or something?
Bev Tier is on it too, right in the
Oh,
village?
yeah.
They're gonna be discussing zoning, I know
And their agendas are on the website.
But every meeting has a time when the public can bring
Yeah,
up
and they're in.
concerns.
I don't want to have to go unless I have to. Unless it's coming up. Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anything else on?
Were we going to, did we say when we were going to actually deal with it?
We didn't.
We were gonna kick that can down the road.
Well, I think there's some discussion now that should, happen with the planning commission again about possibility of different thresholds in a village district.
Mhm.
I think we were trying to make it as easy as we could, so one size fit all, but, so maybe, I'm just saying, maybe we don't wanna be in a hurry, we need to see where the planning
I
commission
think
goes
we
first.
do, because
There's another thing here that Charlotte, put out a while ago, one other town that she found deals with.
Yes, and
So-
Lori did some
And
research.
Lori, yeah, so I would advocate we don't hurry. I think we need to hear what the planning commission ends up doing, and then we would base our ordinance on that.
Sam is drafting a definition of public event, which
Mhm.
will cover a lot of this. You really should talk to him
I will do that.
very definitely, so.
Good. Yeah, I think you're right, Sue. I think we could get out ahead of this and just
Right,
waste our
exactly.
time. Yeah.
So this definition of a public event will be approved by the planning commission or the
Yes.
select board or both the planning commission?
Well, the select board will have to approve it.
Also,
It'll be a part of the zoning bylaw, but, uh,
All right, discussion of animal control ordinance.
That discussing the letter that you
I
received?
I think that's what it
Well,
was.
that's what prompted me to put that on.
Back on
Yeah, I
there,
thought
because
we
we asked
got
them to
rid of
take
it.
it off, but it opens up that letter for us.
Yeah, so you've dealt with this. It's,
Yes, I've been sort of trying to mediate, uh,
And how's that going?
Very congratulatory letter you got.
and, it's just not going well, really. We have some people, well, everyone read the letter. I don't know where to start on this. The person who's a dog owner, who had the two dogs, was trying her best to control her dogs, but they overpowered her. They overwhelmed her on a couple of occasions. When I last spoke with her, which was on Monday, she took great umbrage that her dogs might be considered nuisance dogs. And what does she pay taxes for? She wants access to wherever she wants to walk. Her concession was that she would consider just taking one dog out for a walk, and she thought she could control that one dog. On the other hand, Barbara, the letter states, well, she's concerned, she's scared to go out and meet this person and her dogs. I could issue a $20 fine for a nuisance dog, but I don't think that will solve the problem here. Any sage advice for me?
what else is there?
It sounds like you might have suggested, could you walk the dog in a different place?
Yeah.
She obviously doesn't live near there, so she must
No,
be taking the
no.
dog there for a specific purpose.
Right.
Why there and not somewhere else where there are a lot of people in the public using that area?
It's a nice place to walk. Yes.
Go to a more isolated place.
So the dog owner does, I think, doesn't she live on Black Mountain?
No, she lives on East-West Road.
Last house, I think, before you go around the bridge, before you reach Parkridge Road, isn't that
Yeah, no, I thought, because she was the one that was in talking about the litter that
Yes.
time, right?
Right.
So that's why I assumed that it was, she
right?
was on Black
Yeah,
Mountain.
she walks back down.
I see.
Right. I guess, if there's I had hoped, after the first incident that I heard about, I talked with both parties, and she had, the East-West Road resident had suggested at that time, that she'd just take one dog at a time. And obviously, she's not doing that. I had hoped it would, that would be the end of it. An unfortunate incident, she was doing her best her dogs were on leashes, they got away from her. Hopefully it wouldn't happen again, she'd just take one dog. That would be the end of it. I guess if I hear of another incident, then maybe I write up a notice of violation, like our dog
Well,
one.
she listed 3 or 4, didn't she?
Yeah, yes, I heard about the first incident where the woman was knocked down, and that's what I was trying to deal with, and then.
How long ago was that first
That
one?
was on April 5th.
Oh, so this has all happened since April 5th?
Yeah,
That's like,
a little over a month,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
lot. Well, I think, if you can't control your dog, you gotta be able to control your dog.
right,
There's not much else you can really
right.
do except to, write the fine out.
Yes, that's what I'll do. That will be my next.
I mean,
You know,
what el-
I've tried to reason.
right, but what else is there really that you can do?
There isn't. I can't.
I mean, she's
prohibit-
got him on a leash,
Right.
she's,
I'm sort of on. Yeah, she's got him on a leash. She's doing her best. I can't keep her. I can't say, don't.
right,
I
you can't,
never want to see you on Black Mountain Road again. I can't ban people from certain parts of town.
Well, I should just take the dogs on another road and maybe run into a different,
Right? Then
You know.
we're moving a problem from one place
Right.
to another.
how about a obedience school?
Where's Caesar Milan? What was the dog whisperer?
So, but then I guess, so the next step would be, writing up violations. And then we'll deal with that.
Well, I don't know, I think we owe it to the complainant to take whatever action
Yeah.
we can. No, you don't need any permission from the board to
No,
do this,
no.
right?
No, I was just looking
Someone
for
will respond to.
Great
Moral
idea.
support.
great ideas.
somebody wanna respond to Barbara Lee's letter? Or if you already
I'll give her a call and,
talked to her and tell her what you're gonna,
what the plan is.
right, and, all right, Zeke, thanks.
So we don't require dogs be on a leash when somebody's walking on
No, there's no leash law
the road.
in Dummerston. It's just if your dog does cause a problem, then, if it's a nuisance or vicious dog, then, a notice of violation can be issued, and, the $20 increments.
All right, well, thanks, Zeke.
Yeah.
Dutton Pines update. Everybody,
Yes, I was a little, we had this issue
discussion before, didn't we?
a little before where,
Yeah.
I guess,
I was almost gonna suggest we invite
yeah.
Ed to join us tonight.
That would be good, so he can bring us into the loop.
Then we, I guess, got thrown
Nice-
out somehow.
Nicely put.
Include us. I mean, what if there's a ribbon to cut or something?
Right, yeah.
I wonder what time it would be.
4:30.
Thanks. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean,
Well, I think,
To the next meeting.
yeah, why don't we do that? Have Ed come to the next meeting. Can you give him a call, Lauren?
Sure.
well, it'd be great to have him come to the next meeting, but I think that maybe a call from you as the chair, just explaining to him why, that he's out kind of off the reservation here a little bit.
Freelancing.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean, did we-
as a town policy, we have not made a decision whether or not to.
I think we already talked to him about that, didn't we?
Well, I thought we had. I thought we had.
I'm pretty sure we had already done that, so. I mean, I'll call him and let him know, that we'd like him to
And
come.
I think it's great that Ed's heading this up, and I think there's no better person than Ed to head this up.
Sure.
I just
We
think
need a
that
little leash.
when he responds to a state official that the town is very interested in this, that he's getting out ahead of himself, because
I'll call him, Lauren.
Okay. Did the information from last time go out to the Recreation Committee and, so, okay, so,
I sent it to you, did you get it?
nothing. That's why I'm asking.
I sent it last week.
Email?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing came, so I'll check with you tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
So, new business. Appointment of a cemetery committee member. Anybody have any suggestions who we might?
I was,
Great warden.
How about you, Ward?
yeah, I was thinking you, I don't know, is Greg interested too?
We're making a whole ward?
BRB to the cemetery committee, I don't know.
Yeah. I would make a motion that we appoint you. I think we've interviewed him extensively on the DRB, and if he can do that job, he can probably do cemetery committee.
I would second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. I'll give you a call. Let him know that he was appointed. Any other new business?
I had a question, and I don't know if this is new business, on the community center, on the agreement that people have to sign there. I was asked about this a couple times recently, about does the library, if they do a special event, have to have that signed? And what is being done about, like, when softball teams and things utilize the fields, do they have to sign something? So I'm asking more than telling, but
Right.
I know that this is a little concern. I guess the library is a town-sponsored function anyway, but if they have a special event going on, would,
Like the one on Saturday that's coming up.
yeah. I guess that's probably what prompted the call about it. Questioning if,
Gee, they're already renting.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah, that the library's probably covered, unless they like rented the library out to somebody for, but I can't imagine they'd do that. But yeah, the softball field, that's a good point. I don't know. I mean,
and there probably should be a sign somewhere that's outside even that says permit might be required prior to using the facilities.
does anybody schedule that field, or is it just sort of a?
I don't know. These are a couple questions that came to me recently, and
Recreation using it anymore?
No.
Used to be just
Yeah.
some West Dummerston teams that played in the league that you're involved with.
Right, they don't
Don't use that field anymore.
but they probably should be signing some type of agreement if they happen to bring refreshments, say.
Yeah, I wonder. You know, are we just?
Adult softball.
Are we generally?
Yeah.
Are we covered under? Since we're not taking rent for it, you know what I mean?
Right.
That our liability is just the same as like if somebody trips and falls on the commons over there, it's just public space. I think we're probably covered. I think it's when we rent a facility for use that this other liability, this
And
second
that's
layer.
the only time that permit needs to, that agreement needs to be signed, is if we're,
renting it out.
If somebody
Leasing
wanted
it
that,
out.
somebody wanted that to change, they could be hyphenated. You could add that the property as well as the building, if you wanted to cover events outside. Because technically softball isn't in the
right, yeah,
community
you're
center.
right, yeah.
But if you wanted to slash or community center property, if somebody wanted that, there was to consider it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it bears probably calling VLCT to see what they say. They're our insurers too. But my recollection of that was that the threshold is when we take a fee for a facility use. That's a different kind of liability that we're not completely covered under our.
Okay. So somebody could rent the facility, okay.
Because maybe somebody want to have a softball party and they want to rent it so that they've got it private for themselves and have a keg and all that stuff. I think that would fall under the agreement then.
Right, but, gee, our last meeting, there seemed to be a little sort of a pickup game going on, or something
Practice.
fairly,
Right.
yeah, low key. Didn't seem like they were that organized.
Yeah.
They were just.
So, yeah, I just don't,
But it
I mean,
could
that's like,
Yeah,
say if somebody has a picnic over on the commons, I mean, I think it's just public space. And
So,
we're
so
covered
the
for
answer to the
that.
question then is, they only have to sign the agreement if they're renting the facility.
Well, that's my understanding
should
of
call
it. I think
VLCT,
we should
yes.
get a.
Does everybody pay a rent, or does occasionally the facility is utilized for an event?
Would they just let them have it?
Right.
I don't know. I thought they rented it.
I didn't think this was this confusing of an issue, but I have got a couple calls on it.
Aren't we learning that nothing is easy?
So I said I'd follow it up, so okay.
Well, they let some groups use it, like they have the Conservation Commission had their program there, the select board meets there. The Planning Commission's gonna meet there.
Well, those are town functions, though. I think that's a different animal.
we shouldn't have to get a permit.
Do you know if the knitters or the quilters, do they pay?
They do pay.
Yeah, so that's what I thought.
Right, well, it's kind of a dangerous sort of thing, they could knit an Afghan or something.
Yeah.
Pretty clever.
So are you gonna follow that up and let me know?
Yeah.
Any other new business? Alright. Do we need to go have an executive session about your,
If he wants to report on that, we
Yeah.
probably should do it.
Yeah.
right, yeah, it'd be
It
good.
certainly isn't public, we've reached
Right.
that stage yet.
Right. So would somebody like to make a motion
I'll move we go to executive session.
for?
Second.
And you wanna specify why, a real estate matter or a legal matter? Legal, I guess it would be legal.
Yeah.
It's
Need for a
legal,
legal
right,
matter, yeah.
okay.
Right.
Good night, Irene.